Good morning, class. I want to give a quick review over the Algebra 1 2016 test. Some of these questions I've already done, and some of those questions I will work you through them slowly. On the questions that I've done, I would suggest that you stop the video and figure out what I've done. Here's the formula chart. You can stop the video and look at the different formula charts. Here's the bottom half. You can also find that online. Question 1 asks you about rate of change. Rate of change is slope. All you need to do is take 2 points from that table, and let me scoop my paper up. Take 2 points from that table, from that graph, make a table, put it in len reg, list 1, list 2, y1. When you do this, go to your y equals button, you'll find 100x plus 50. That 100 is your slope, and that's the answer, choice A. Question 2 asks you which expression is equivalent to. If you're doing equivalent, you're doing simplifying. If you're simplifying, you're doing the distributive property. Be sure to put your arrows in. By the way, there is a -1 right there. If you didn't know, you do now. It's right there. And if you skip that part, well, you'll get it wrong. Combine like terms, and the answer is G. Question 3. You've got baseball tickets, seats, lower deck, upper deck, and all those fun things. This is a system of equations. A system of equations is y1, y2, y0. If you don't understand that, go watch that video. Now, if you look at the equations, it talks about the upper deck are 75% of the cost of the lower deck. So it's a better seat on the lower deck. So it says no more than 800, but 800 is okay. So 801 is not. If it's $42 for the lower ticket, wouldn't the top deck be cheaper? And if you look at my work, you'll see that why I picked choice B. Question 4 is a function. It says y equals ax squared plus c. Well, that's the same as x squared plus 1. A would be 1. You could put a 1 there if you choose. And c, there's 1 there. So if you put this in the graphing calculator, it has to be less than 0. So it can't be above the x-axis. And right there it's at 0, so that one's out. So it has to be below, so that would work. That is definitely not below. And the answer is 8. 1 left. Question 5, there's a table there. It is linear because right there it says linear. So you put that in list 1, you put that in list 2, and you do len reg, list 1, list 2, y1. Don't forget the commas. If it doesn't work, then you need to look at your windows and make sure your graph is showing. Zoom out works pretty good as well. I rewrote the table. Sometimes you make mistakes this way. If you want to, you could write the x's here and the y's here. Over here, that's Dr. ID, that's list 1, list 2, that's XY, that's also input, output. And that was very simple. If you did all that, if you go to the y equals button, you'll find that equation right in front. Question 6. Which expression is equivalent to that? Equivalent means they're equal. And if you look down here, what do you see? You better see quadratics. So that's double distribute. Take the first part times the first part. Take this one times the second one. Take this one to the second one, and this one times the second one. All you're doing is distributing twice. It's also called FOIL, first, outer, inner, last. But in general, you're distributing twice. Take this first set and multiply to these two. And take the second set and multiply to these two as well. That's where I'm getting these. I also combine like terms to figure this out. Too bad your calculator won't play with these, but oh well. And by the way, the answer was none of the above because they didn't work. Question 7, there's that graph. Now that would be great to type it in, but too bad it's not fixed. You have to fix that. Fix it, I said so right here. Y equals mx plus b. If x is negative, flip the sign. This right here means it's a solid line because of that line right there, and the line counts as well. Shade the top two. Plot your points. You can only pick 1 point, not 3. So I put those points on that graph. So you've got, there's an A, there's a B, I think that's a B, that's a B, there's D, and C is right there. You can only pick one. So either you're picking these 3 above it, or you're going to pick the one on the line. I'm going to lean toward pick the one on the line, C. And make sure you plot, not plot, make sure you label these points. Question 8. What value of x makes this equation true? Well, if you look at it, you see a bunch of stuff going on. Don't you have a left and a right and an equal sign? And I only see one type of variables, x's. Put all of this in y1 and put all of this in y2, and then make sure the graph crosses, the 2 lines cross. Go to second, trace, intersection, which is number 5. Push the enter button 3 times. You should see the word guess on there. And then it should say x equals It said 0.2 on my calculator. That's 2 over 10, which is 1/5. Answer is J. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go back and watch that video. Question 9. It's talking about salary. Now, you've got a graph. The salary's $29,000 start out. You're going to have an increase, so it better go up. And now, if you look at all of them, they're all going up. But it says you're starting at $29,000. That's $29,000. That's not $29,000. That's like 5. Now, if you want that paycheck, I'm confident they'll give you that one. This one says you're starting at 5. That's a great paycheck. And this one says you're starting at just under 30,000. So I'm going to tell you, C and D are out and A and B are in at this point. So right here, look at my notes. Starts at 29,000, not 5,000. D and C are out. Now, if you went up here and did, what's the percent? You got a 6.2%. So if you take that number times 6.2, divide by 100, that means you move the decimal place. But anyway, divide it by 100 if you're not sure. And you can look at my work down here, right there. And I get 1798. So you get this number, you get this number and you get this number. So that's your total. That's your new paycheck. Nice paycheck. That's year 2. Year 3, you're going to get that paycheck plus another 6% raise. So then 6.02 divided by 100 times this number will give you this new number. Now, if you look on my graph, year 2 should be 30,000 something. Year 2 here is, well, I think about over 50,000. I don't think so. No, answer's A. Question 10, your most hated. Which expression is equivalent of? Now, bottom line, we don't like negative. If it's negative, move it to the other part. If it's on top, send it to the bottom. If it's on the bottom, send it to the top, because I don't have a third option. If it's negative, put it in the other slot, either numerator or denominator. You just have to reverse them. You can look at my work here. This negative 10 needs to go down here. This negative 5 needs to come up here. And this negative A, it needs to come up here also. Now, if you look at my work, there's the long version. But hey, I got mine right. So 14 is 7 times 2. That's a factor tree. What makes 8? How about 2 times 2 times 2? Those are all the way down to prime. I've got 4A's, so there they are. I've got 6 B's. There's 3. 4, 5, 6. So there all are. Those 10 C's, well, they're supposed to be on the bottom, said the negative. So there they are, 10 C's. On the bottom, I got the 8, 2, 2, 2. I got 2 negative A's. Those need to go on top and make them positive when you get them up there. So there's my 2 extra A's. That B to the 3, it was okay. 1, 2, 3. C to the negative 5, it's not okay. It goes to the top. So there's 5 extra C's up there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, to solve this, what is 2 divided by 2? Yes, you're correct, 1. Those cancel out. What is B divided by B? It's not 0, it is 1. Those 3 B's and those 3 B's cancel out to create 1. They don't create 0. Those 5 C's and those 5 C's cancel out to create 1. What's left? Everything else that's not in pink. And if you notice, I think I marked it right here. 7, there's 6 A's because there's 4 here, 2 down here. Don't forget them. 3 B's. I got 2 times 2, that makes 4. And I got some 5's, 5 C's right there. Answer's H. Write it out the long way if you're lost. Question 11. The linear function f of x equals x is graphed on a coordinate plane. The graph of the new line is formed. I suggest you graph it so you know what you're looking at. Now change the slope to 2/3 and change the x-intercept to 4. So you need to do some work. So number 1, y equals x is the parent function. What does that mean? That's the original. That means y equals x plus 0 if you're wanting to know. It's this one right here. It makes a 45-degree angle. Nice and pretty. Now it said change the slope to 2/3. I did. That's m. And it said change the y-intercept to 4. I did. So here's my new graph. It's just sketched in. So I wrote the old one, the new one. Now what happened to it? This one said it went down. Well, here's where it is, and this is my new one. It did not go down. That is wrong. This one says down. It's wrong too. So circle the part that's wrong. Those are out. Both out. Now B and C are still in. This one says less steep. This one says steeper. Well, wouldn't that be tied to the slope? Because you're not going to be able to look at the graph, not mine by hand. That slope is 1, that slope is 2/3. The answer is B. Next question. Question 12. The table below shows some ordered pair that belong to a quad function. By the way, quad, you saw that, right? So here's your list. Now, do you know how to put a quad in the list? You put this in list 1. It says so. You put this in list 2. And then you're going to go to stat, cal. It says quad reg. It's number 5 in case you're wondering. List 1, list 2, y1. y1 is under vars, and then y vars, and then function if you don't know where that's at. Set all that in, and then push the enter button. Now, let's see here. Oh, by the way, this is Dr. ID XY. Now, I looked at the table, and this says all real numbers. That's not true because I didn't see -9, and -9 is a real number, so that one's out. This one said all real numbers greater than or equal to -7. Well, I saw -8. This one here, all real numbers greater than or equal to -8. I didn't see -9. And this one here, all real numbers greater than or equal to 0. Well, I saw -2. So the answer is H. You really need to look at the calculator on that. Question 13. Alrighty, question 13. Lots of words. So let's see what I've got. I've got Sports Magazine 12. I wrote that here. Technology Magazine 10. Next sentence. It says the total number of pages in all the issues of the sports magazines for 1 year is 32 more than the total number of pages in the technology magazine. Now down here, look. The total number of pages in the sport, so that's 12 subscriptions for sport, equals, means equals. 32 more than means plus 32, and more than technology, and the technology was 10. The next sentence starts right here. So sports magazine has the same as is, so S equals right there. 18 fewer than, that's minus 18 tech. And there that is, and there's your solution. Choice A. Question 14. What is the y-intercept of this line graphed on this grid? Well, by default, you should be able to see that y-intercept just as plain as day, but just in case you can't, it is right there. Now, if you look, it looks like a fraction to me. That's too close to call, especially if it's a griddable. So what you're going to have to do, pick 2 points, I don't know, possibly the 2 they gave you, and put them in list 1 and list 2. And then you're going to do len reg list 1, list 2, y1. I put that in my calculator. So there's my y equals. Real quick, here's my stat, edit, there's my list. There's when I did len reg, and remember it's going to look like len reg, list 1, list 2, y1, you push enter, there's your calibration, it'll feed to y equals, it'll graph for you, it'll finish your table for you. Y equals mx plus b is really nice if you use len reg. So, by the way, the answer question was about y-intercept. How about 5.5? And then griddable would look like that. Positive, 5, decimal, 5. You can put the 0 or not. You can put the positive or not. I don't care. You must put the 5. You must put the decimal. You must put this 5. Next question, 15. Which expression is equivalent to that? Those are Q's because they look like they're not. Simplify, right? Which expression is equivalent? Doesn't that mean simplify? Doesn't that mean distributive property? Doesn't that mean no subtract signs if you want to check mark later? That right there has to be dispersed across those. And should I point out the obvious? You have a calculator. If you're really stumped on that one, you could type it in, huh? So you've got 9q squared plus negative 2/3 times 3q plus negative 7 plus 5q squared. By the way, I did fix that right there. Right there, we don't have subtract signs. Right here either. Not good. So I multiplied that, I got 2, and then I multiplied that, and I got 14 over 3, and leave it like that. It doesn't bother me. So, and then you're going to combine like terms. You've got a q squared here, and you got 1 here, and that explains this part. That's a q, and that's a number, and that's the end of that. So how about this one maybe? Yep, that is definitely a q. That's not 29. Choice C. Question 16. It says, which statement about k of x equals negative x squared minus 2x plus 15 is true? Now, if I look at this, you should put this in your quadratic. And then you can actually get x equals 3 if you get that correct. Now, if that's true, I can get that one out. Those are in, those 2 are out. And you're going to have to do the rest of the distributing to get the final answer to that. Again, you would put that in and then go look for the zeros. You can actually see where they cross the x-intercept. Alrighty, next question. I went back to that question and I typed it in. There is my equation and my y1 button. Here's my graph. I've zoomed in pretty good. right here and right here are your solutions. And if I do trace,